everyone. Welcome to the Bacon Unlimited webinar. We're excited to present to you our latest version of Bacon Unlimited, our endpoint management solution, Bacon version 3.1. Today we're going to be showing off things like remote just-in-time mode, not filters, and monitoring groups. But before we get started, I want to introduce who we have speaking in the webinar today. I'm Caitlin LeBlanc, and I'll be your host. I'm part of the Bacon Unlimited team. We also have our CTO and co-founder of Bacon Unlimited, John Mercado. Hey, John.
Hi, Caitlin, and hello, everyone out there. Thanks for presenting today, Caitlin.
Yeah. And then we also have our VP of Development, Andrew Britton, doing the demo for us today.
Hey, how you doing? Can't wait to bacon.
So I do want to mention that we have a chat feature on the top right-hand corner of the screen. We have engineers working behind the scenes ready to answer all of your questions, and we do want you to get the most out of the session, so please communicate and ask questions.
Sounds like we're having a technical difficulty, Caitlin, and I'm not sure what it is, but apparently several people can't hear on the webinar. So I don't know if anybody can hear us and wants to plug in on the chat, but it does not appear that we're getting a clear audio here. So we're just.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you great, Caitlin, and I can hear Andrew. I guess people who are attendees can't hear us. Apparently that is now fixed. So hopefully everyone can hear us now, and we'll just get going. So Caitlin, if you wouldn't mind, why don't you just take us from the introductions, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Caitlin LeBlanc, and I'm part of the Bacon Unlimited team, and I'll be your host for today. We also have our CTO and co-founder of Bacon Unlimited, John Mercado, here. Hi, John, again.
Hello again, Caitlin, and hopefully everyone can hear us this time. Thanks very much.
Yeah. And then we have our VP of Development, Andrew Britton, doing the demo for us today. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Caitlin. Great to be here. And bacon.
And bacon.
So I do want to mention that we have a chat feature in the top right-hand corner of the screen. We have engineers working behind the scenes ready to answer all of your questions, so please feel free to use that. We want you to get the most out of this session. At the end of the webinar, we're going to be sending out a post-event survey as an opportunity to give us feedback. It's a huge value to us, and it's pretty quick. We love to hear your feedback on the session and the product so we can continuously improve our game. Everyone who's going to be attending today will be getting a pig stress ball, a notepad, and a pen. But I do want to mention that if you fill out that post-event survey, we are also including a Bacon Unlimited t-shirt. They're super soft and comfy, so I highly recommend it. So be sure to fill that out. All right, now let's get to the polls.
All right. Do you have a way to instantly verify your policy settings are applied? This would be things like GPOs and other methods by which you set policies on systems. We'll see what the poll has to tell us here. Yeah, pretty high ratings as we kind of anticipated. More than 2/3, right? About 70% do not have a way to verify that. It's a common problem, and as you can probably guess, since we asked it, that's something we address really effectively with Bacon. So if you're interested in adding that to your capabilities, that'll be something you'll start to see today and can dive into more on additional webinars. And we do have just one more poll if you want to throw that up there, team, and it's sort of related. How do you get help with complex tasks like automation and scripting? And it could be none or all of these answers, or some combination therein.
I'm going to guess that internet or we don't will be the biggest answers.
Yeah, I think some people have the skill internal. What we do find often is that it's not a lot of help coming from the outside. The good old internet is a pretty solid winner there. I'm not terribly surprised, and people have to kind of figure out what they've got inside. And here at Bacon, we sort of believe that if someone's making you a tool, they should be able to help you overcome your problems, not just bug fix that tool. So that is actually included in our licensing, that we will assist you in building and modifying a lot of these automation capabilities that people have varied and mixed skills on, or sometimes they want to run it by someone. We do that as a standard part of what we do, and we've found that people really like to be able to bounce something off somebody who's doing this all day, every day. So just know that as we go through that anything you see in our more complex capabilities is something that will not only teach you how to use, but help you apply it in your individual business. So with that, Caitlin, is there anything else you wanted to cover before we jump into the overview and the demo?
Yeah, I did want to mention that if you liked what you see today and you want to see more, we do have a YouTube channel called Bacon Unlimited. There's a bunch of short, informative Bacon Bits videos on all the features we're showing you today and more. So make sure to check us out on there and subscribe. Take it away, guys.
All right, thanks, Caitlin. That's fantastic. With that, definitely those Bacon Bits, we just keep adding them every week. So there's more and more content on there. It can be helpful for training or just getting a sense for the features and how they might help you. But with that said, we're going to jump into sort of the overview here. And Andrew's got a little slide for that, and I'm going to run through that before we open up the demo. We do want to spend the majority of the time showing the tool. We think that's the thing that people like the most, is really seeing us do it hands-on. So I'll just run through this very quickly as to why we have Bacon and why we made it in the first place. And really it came down to the fact that this is an area of software development that most of the tools that were on the marketplace 5 years ago were not really modern. They had been built many ages ago in software lifespan, and they weren't being modified or modified quickly enough to meet modern challenges in security and in mobilization, people being sort of spread all over the place. And they lacked things like cross-platform capabilities and just a lot of other roadblocks. It seemed like they should be solvable. So having used many tools and over the last 24 years, the thing that I sort of saw and some of my coworkers saw was we could really build something using modern platform. It's a Python Django app, uses MySQL, React, JavaScript on the front end, and all of these things are very modern to use. There's lots of libraries and things that add on to them that make it very fast to add features and bring a lot of value. And the other thing that's easy to do is to scan these apps for security flaws, and a lot of these common reuse libraries and elements are already being looked at by people for security reasons all the time. So you can be confident that lots of people are really adding to the security analysis of what's going on under the hood. So with that said, Bacon is a cross-platform endpoint management tool. That means Windows, Mac, Linux of multiple flavors. It's going to allow you to do pretty much the exact same functions on all of them. So things like remote connection, remote scripting, remote software install and uninstall, policy management, inventory management, and patching of the operating systems, complex multi-file installers. All of those things are going to be in here, along with a great visibility, as I mentioned, inventory management, but also monitoring and just overview information that gives you a lot of real-time feedback on what the system's doing, whether or not it's healthy, whether or not it's got certain security parameters that are very important to most organizations. So with that said, I think probably the most exciting thing about Bacon is that it's ever evolving. It is made by IT people for IT people, as you can see there. And so the people that are putting the most amount of time into developing the product are people who actually do admin for very large and challenging environments and have to solve all kinds of weird problems for automation, for security, and for sort of DevOps types functions. So with that said, Andrew, I'm feeling ready to jump right into the demo, have you show us some exciting stuff, and maybe talk through some of the new features that we have. You ready to go?
I can't wait. Here's Bacon.
Fantastic. So Andrew's brought us right in on the overview page, which is what you see when you log into Bacon. And it's a fully interactive sort of front dashboard. And by interactive, I mean it shows you a lot of extra data as you hover over things, but also it drills down when you click on things. And that drill down actually is a matter of taking you around to the key areas of the software. So Andrew's currently hovering over a sort of our critical alert there that we see in our monitoring section. And if he clicks on that section, you're going to notice that it actually drills you down, and on the left-hand pane in green there, you see that we're now in the monitoring section. We see that we're in the alerts subsection, and we see that it's filtered only for alerts that are triggered by a rule we have called running AV. And so why that's really important is that sometimes once you get there, you want to see other data, and you don't want to necessarily see some obscure secondary sort of reporting screen, but you actually want to go to the functional part of the software. So the UX has a lot of thought in it. In this software, it's really meant that you could figure out most of the stuff on your own the first day you look at it. It's got a lot of contiguous features throughout. But certainly in the monitoring section here, I think what's really interesting is that you can monitor all the health and sort of critical elements of your system. So whether you're talking about a service or daemon that's running, or whether you're talking about CPU, RAM, and disk threshold, or whether you're talking about patching, like do you have too many patches available for particular systems, or patches are getting too old on particular systems. All of these things can be alerted on, and they can be done in a really, really interesting set of ways. And with that, I think we do have a new feature here, and it's a great opportunity to show off what it takes to set up a rule. And Andrew, if you wouldn't mind taking us through that, that'd be great.
Thank you, John. I'd love to. I'm a big fan of this new feature. This is a flavor alert, by the way, a bacon flavor alert, extra crispy.
Flavor alert.
And what we're going to show now is a new feature where we're assigning rules to groups of endpoints. Whereas before we'd be assigning them to endpoints themselves, which is great and useful, but now this pairs very well with dynamic groups. So let's say I do one for services or daemons and critical. We'll choose a name later, but let's say that I want to look for a group that's, my server group. Here we go. Can do all servers on my Bacon server, and so right now, what I've done is I've selected that one group, and that has 95 computers in it, and this is a dynamic group. The reason that I love this, John, is that this group, as you know, because it's dynamic, it means that any computer that gets added or changed to a type server will automatically join this group. Of course, right? Because that's how dynamic groups work. But the added benefit here is that as soon as an endpoint joins that group, I don't have to anymore now assign this alert to that endpoint. As soon as it joins the group, it automatically gets all of the alerts that are assigned to that group. You set it once, it takes care of it, it gets all the alerts. And it's a much easier way to set up alerting. And later, this ties in well with provisioning. So in addition to selecting groups, we still have the ability, because we don't like to take features away, we still have the ability to select endpoints. And what you'll notice here is that anything that's implicitly selected because it's part of the group gets a green box. anything that we want to add later, like let's say we want to force this computer, we give it an explicit selection, or we can force add that one later as well. And now it will be that group and always these two endpoints. So it's a huge feature, and I think a really big win for usability for our clients. Thanks, John.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. And the dynamic group capability is something we see used throughout the software. So I think maybe let's go over to the endpoints table. Let's just talk briefly about what the setup is here. But what everyone's going to notice when they look at this is it's going to be laid out a lot like an Excel spreadsheet. In other words, you can change the columns, you can sort every column, you can move every column around. I don't know, maybe move a column there, Andrew, just so people can see. You can just easily point and click at things and move them where you want them. Also in the top right, there's a columns button where you can select what columns are shown at all. And all of this stuff can actually be exported to Excel, where it's going to look very, very similar. So whatever you're currently filtered for and sorted on and so on and so forth, will be easily exportable from the actions menu also in the top right there. So that's just some navigational things. The other navigational thing I did want to mention that you'll see throughout the software is the search capabilities. So the dotted line at the top there with the little magnifying glass, that's what we call quick search. And it's really meant to just make it really fast to see things with like very close to perfect accuracy, but not so specific. So what Andrew's done there is just started typing in a little bit of a common name that he has on this test server here. And what's really good is that he's probably going to find the things he's looking for. But sometimes you need to be really specific. And so we have hard filters as well. And so if Andrew clears the quick search and goes up to the hard filters, he can do the same thing, and he can say host name maybe starts with and use that name that he was showing before, the Azkaban there. And if he puts that in and then selects that as one of the filters, it's going to show all the machines that fit there. Now, as we can see, all of these machines are fairly similar. But like if some of them were offline or something like that, he would easily be able to say, just show me the ones that are online, and it would be a compounding filter. You can actually have many filters. And one of the things you'll notice he's doing is he's typing in there. That's actually a new feature, or a flavor alert, as we say, because before you actually had to scroll down. And so it's a minor thing, but being able to type and having it only show things that sort of match that when you're trying to find your filters just saves a little time. It's a little bit easier. So that's a new add. And the other new add here, which is really awesome, I think, is this ability to do what we call a not filter. So we kept finding these scenarios where we wanted to do the opposite of a particular filter we have. And so in this case, all of these machines that are online, or all of these machines that we're looking at right now, we could say something like it has a particular piece of software, and then we could actually hit that little equal sign, and it will change to not equals. And so now we could find every machine that does not have a particular piece of software. We could also find something that is not online or not whatever filter you're talking about. So we're looking for any machine that does not have Firefox, and all of these machines come right up. You can be more specific. You could say a particular version of Firefox. All of those are going to work, and you're going to be able to be very specific in finding these things. And what's really cool is if you wanted to have every machine that does not contain Firefox, you could make this filter, and then you could actually go save that as a dynamic group by clicking on actions and saying create dynamic group. Anytime you use the hard filters, you can create a dynamic group out of that. And that means you will forever have a group that is real-time updated to match that criteria. So if machines all of a sudden get Firefox, they would leave that group. If you had another one, which was all machines that are not connected, well, then when machines go offline, they join the group, and when they come online, they leave the group. So You can be really specific too, because you can use the multiple compounding filters to do that. So Andrew, I'm going to ask you to filter now for some machines, maybe a Windows machine, that we could show off the details page and the remoting, because we're going to go there and show our new remoting capabilities, which we call just-in-time remoting. If you do have any questions, by the way, as we're going through here, please do put them in the chat. We have engineers in the background that are answering questions in real time. And of course, you can do follow-up sessions with us. We'd love showing people this one-on-one and answering all their specific questions and talking about how it would work for them. So Andrew's brought us to the details page here. And Andrew, if you wouldn't just mind running through what we've done on the details page here, and then show us the remoting features, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you, John. So I love the endpoint detail page because we have these boxes along the top that are both informative and selectable. And when I say informative, I mean, for instance, that this is live information. This tells me how much RAM I'm using. This tells me my CPU usage, which is not very much for this computer. And it gives me my knock status. But all of these boxes are informative. Over here in services, I see, for instance, I have one antivirus service and one antivirus service is running. So I can look at that without having to look at the table and see that I have really good news here and that I don't have to scramble to find out what's wrong. Am I being hacked right now? But at the same time, these are all selectable and they take me to much more information about that aspect of the endpoint. So, at all times, you get to keep this high-level overview of your endpoint while you're looking at details. And so I love that aspect of it. And onto the remote, really like what we have. We have an excellent remote connection feature that allows for screen, shell, file system. I'll just show these a little bit, but I really want to get to one of our new features in the implementation here. With a remote connection, we've really focused on, and we really heard people talk about the security importance of such a powerful tool set. And the security around this is something that needs to be driven by the policy decisions of each company and each organization. And so we've updated our own security configuration for this by having 3 different status settings. We have an always on, an always off, and an on demand. And with always on, it's exactly what you think it is. And a Bacon administrator will always be able to have access to a screen, shell, or file system connection to this computer. And this is a per computer setting as well. In addition, there's always off. And you might say these are very high security computers and no admin should be able to establish remote connections here. So this would be just a turn off. And what I like about the turn off here, John, is that we not only hide the ability to establish that connection from the admin user in Bacon, but we also turn the service off at the machine level, which means even if someone hacked the UI, it's still not working because they still can't establish that connection. So we've really locked this off from a security point of view from those 2 areas. And then lastly, we have this on demand. And I really love this on demand because it's that nice hybrid between always on and always off. When you're in on demand, it starts immediately this 10-minute countdown timer. And the connection will stay alive during this 10-minute window. If at any point you need to, let's say you're still working, 10 minutes are almost up, just click the icon again, reset your timer back to 10 minutes. So the most you ever have is 10 minutes. Let's say you get up, walk away, 10 minutes later, it shuts this down and it secures that connection. So I'm a big fan of that one. In addition, we have this great shell connection, and it's just lightning fast, John. Like, I don't even know where this computer is in the world, but I'll tell you what, it's not on my desk. It is in some remote server room somewhere, and I'm gonna type in, and this is coming back instant. So huge fan of that.
It feels like it's right in front of you, and that's the exciting part, I think. is that whether you're working on this section, and I think show the file system as well, but these are really, really snappy remote capabilities. So if you're currently using tools and use one tool to do some of the software installation and another one to remote to your computers, this is going to help you eliminate that, put it all in one tool. And also, you don't even need a local agent, right, Andrew? This just runs completely out of HTML5. So it's extremely simple to use, and it has all kinds of modern capabilities, changing the quality so that you can get better bandwidth use. It allows you to, copy files up there. It allows you to use the clipboard. It allows you to change orientation or use multiple monitors. It's really, really very feature rich. And we only came out with the first version of this in October, and we just continue to add new capabilities to it. And that's why we love getting feedback from everybody on this call and others. We really want to hear what you think about it. We really want to make it the most ideal tool for all IT people to use. So really exciting. I love this feature. And this new security feature really helps companies with very high sec requirements be able to use remoting without having only user initiation allowed. So that's a really common problem out there. Some places can't use remoting at all. And this, and we could get deeper into the security if you have questions on it, but essentially the way it's designed, it creates a scenario where you're going to basically be able to pass any security audit and use this tool regardless. So love talking more about it, but we only have so much time in one session. So with that, we'll kind of keep moving on. I did show that in endpoints table, we, essentially you can see all the inventory of your systems, but we also see that in the software area there. So Andrew, if you wouldn't mind clicking there, and we have multiple contexts, which is something that we do in Bacon all the time. So we have all of your installed software on all of your systems from a macro level here, and it's going to show which or how many machines have this particular piece of software, and that could be anything from like a Windows update, or it could be a third-party piece of software like Office, or it could be Chrome, whatever it is. The point is we're going to list it. We're going to say the machines that it's on. If you were to click on one of these, you can see the version of each of the software, and you can even run uninstalls from here from the little top right corner there. So it's just a really good way to see all of your installed software. You probably noticed that when Andrew was showing the details page on one machine. You can also see that for one machine, which is obviously a different context and critical in certain cases, but sometimes you need to come to kind of top down on it. And Bacon's really designed with all of the different angles on how you want to see things. So with that, we also have another context in here, which is services. And essentially that means any service or daemon that's running on Mac, Linux, Windows is going to show up here. And it's going to show you exactly what its friendly name and true name are, which platform it's running on, which endpoints it's on. And you have the ability on the details page version of this, when you're looking at one machine, of restarting services or stopping them or starting them, etc. And so it's a really powerful tool. And as you can see, you can get into this detail section here and do a start or stop on any of those machines. Very handy real-time tools. And you don't have to leave this tool to go log into something else and then get connected to the machine and then restart it. You can get all of that feedback right here in real time. So much more powerful than your sort of traditional MDM tools or sort of segregated different tools. It's really set up to give you all that capability. So lots of information on hardware, lots of information here on software. And then we have our three main functional capabilities in the software. And those are the patching, the repository, which is really a multi-tool feature, and our profiles tool, which a lot of people kind of think is our coolest feature because it allows for massive amounts of automation and control. I think with that said, though, we should run through each of these real quickly, Andrew, and maybe just show what patching looks like, maybe run like a security patch or something like that.
Absolutely. When you're looking at your patching table and you see this large list of patches, the very first thing that I like to do is if I know I want to run a security patch, I start looking to filter by category. And again, I love that type auto completion. Don't have to scroll anymore. And that typing auto completion works in this window as well. So let's look at security. Let's look at security updates. It was so easy to find those. So let's say I want to install these. I'll select both of these for install, and I'll come up to the big action menu along the top and install. The nice thing about Bacon is that when selecting the endpoints, it only shows me the endpoints for whom these updates are available. So it automatically filters out by operating system and usability. So it takes you, it's very targeted. It takes you right to only what you need. When doing this install, so I want to install on both of these machines. We have 4 install features for this. We can install immediately, which is exactly what it sounds like. Kick it and go, and let the flavor come pouring in. We also have a schedule time. Let's say I want to do this at later in the evening after everyone's gone home. Boom, it's now scheduled for 7 o'clock. We also have, and I really like this one, run when connected. Now let's imagine for a second that one of these machines had a red circle here, and that would mean that it was offline at this moment. But I really need to get this job started, and I can't come back and keep checking for a time when this computer comes back on. So I would then select both and use the run when connected option and install. And what that means, John, is that it will kick it off for the one that's online right now. That update will happen immediately. And then Bacon is going to remember that job for the other computer. It's going to store it in the database in the backend memory. And then when that computer comes online and checks in, Bacon's going to say, hey, we've got this job for you. Let's go right now. So it doesn't get lost in the ether. It doesn't show up as oh no, your computer's not online. Not when you run when connected. So like I said, I love that one. Then we have this last option right here, which is schedule relentless mode. And this is the one that has saved clients so much time. And this is when, we really listened to clients as well. And that's where this feature came from. And I've personally worked with clients in using this feature to work through like 2,000 updates across a 600 endpoint network in just a few hours. It was just a magic to watch all of their updates happen so quickly. And the way relentless mode works is it will take all of the updates that you have that you personally decided are you're going to update in this go, and you set a window, a start date and time. I'm going to start here and at this time. And then let's say I'm going to run this one for a week because these servers, they're about to go into production, but I need to get them ready. So I'm just going to give it a week time and okay. And during this week, Bacon is going to relentlessly hammer these updates into the machines again and again and again until one of 2 things happen. Either the updates take, not needed anymore, or until you run out of time. But during that time, Bacon will continue to attempt an installation. And you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to sit there and watch your Windows machine and go, oh, it didn't update. Let me try again. Let me try again. Bacon does this for you. Now we have these 3 reboot options down at the bottom because how an organization performs their reboot is very much based on their internal policy and guidelines. And it's not really for us at Bacon to decide. So we left you that option as well. You'll see up here that these endpoints or these updates, I should say, both are listed as requiring a reboot to be fully installed. And that's great, and that's useful information for you to know. And so our first option says, during relentless mode install, yes, reboot the endpoint if the update requires it. So that's our default. Then we have force reboot the endpoint even if the update doesn't need it. And this is something that I've seen clients do on their server machines so that the servers aren't up for like 2 years straight without all the worry of, what happens if I take it down 2 years later? So this is a great way to refresh servers that don't have people logged in. And then, there's the other side of this, which is absolutely do not reset the computers, even if the update requires it. Don't do that reboot. because I'm going to be installing on user computers, on laptops, on workstations, and I can't reboot them in the middle of the workday. So when they log off and shut down, then this update cycle is going to complete, but it's up to them to decide that reboot. So, this is a rundown of how we do it. It's very powerful. It's very simple, and users just can't, they stop talking about the updates. This is our strongest feature, and I love it. So thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. And all of those features, not just relentless mode, will always prompt you if there are required reboots. The default is to not do the reboot, and that way the user can do it later at a time that's convenient for them. So we commonly see people sort of fill out a little email to their end users and say, hey, when you see this little icon in your tray, do the reboot, like maybe at lunch or at the end of the day. But it allows you to get through a lot of patches for those end user computers, no matter where they are in the world. Everything Bacon can do, it can do securely from anywhere people are working. And that's one of the keys to the way it was designed from the ground up, was that it could securely connect from anywhere it can get on the internet in a way that is not going to put the organization or your systems at risk. So really, really great stuff. And I do think people will be able to get a lot of benefit out of that. Now, the other two features we wanted to cover here, we'll go through a little bit quickly just to make sure we're on tempo here. But the repository is actually something we changed in Bacon maybe a year ago. Essentially, we took a few features and put them together. Namely, the repository is exactly what it sounds like. It's a place where you can hold any kind of file. And those files are commonly going to be things like scripts or software installers, but they don't have to be. We've seen people distribute fonts with them, or like a picture that needs to be on every company computer for a background. You could distribute it and then run the script that actually puts it in place. You can do all of those kinds of things from the repository for one-off jobs, right? Like a one-off job could be to install your new antivirus agent on every computer. That's going to be exceedingly simple from the repository, and it would be something anyone on your team could do, from tier 1 all the way up to some high-level architect. It's going to be extremely simple. And one of the things that we can do in here is, copies. You can copy a script in here like that you have sitting on your desktop, but you could also copy the code right off of a web page, and you can create a new file right here, as they see Andrew doing for me there. And you just name it, maybe put in some notes about it. You decide what kind of line ending. So for Windows type scripts, you're going to want to choose those. And for Linux or Mac, you're going to want to choose the Linux or Mac style line ending. And then once you do that, you choose the code style, and that's the type of script. So you can write Python scripts or PowerShell or CMD or Bash scripts. It's really fairly broad. And you could just paste something in there, or you can type it in. And now you've got a script that you can use over and over again against any set of machines that you want. It could be all your machines, it could be a small group of machines, it could be just one. It's all very, very simple. Now, the last section I wanted to talk about in the repository, and I see Andrew's diligently finishing the script, but I'm going to steal him away from it, is what we call bundles. And bundles is essentially a complex file installer. So what we found is a lot of other platforms do not actually allow you to easily install a multi-file installer. And they require you to package it up in their special format or put a bunch of extra code in it. It's really not necessary in this day and age. So what we allow you to do is simply grab the files you want. And you can see they're already grabbed for this particular bundle that installs the Office 365 local apps. But all you have to do is grab those, say make a bundle, and name it, and then say which is the kickoff file, right? The file that sort of runs first, and Bacon does the rest, okay? So in other words, it puts those sort of in a logical clump. It doesn't create any kind of weird package. And when you decide that you want to deploy those to machines, it moves those files, ensures they all make it to all of the machines that they're supposed to get to, and then it launches the file based on the one that's marked. And you can even do ones that are unmarked, and so you're just getting files somewhere and not doing anything with them until maybe a later time. But the idea is that you could easily get these things done, and they'll be well logged and understood. And if they fail anywhere, you'll have great detail in Bacon. That's one of the main things we focused on, is that all the different job types we have, we get a tremendous amount of really important feedback from the endpoint, so you can make iterative improvements if you find that there's some reason. Maybe your installer's broken, maybe the install script you decide to use is broken. And because Bacon is essentially real time, you can do things and they fail and they report back very quickly. And you can go, oh, that machine needs a different type of script, or it's 64-bit, not 32-bit, or whatever it is that you come across that's an error. It's going to be very fast to resolve it. So you're going to be able to get a lot more done in a day. And that's kind of the goal. So with that, that's the repository. And then the last feature we're going to just briefly touch on before we talk about a couple new features is our profiles feature. Now, again, and we often say this, is this really kind of requires its own session if you want to dig deep. But essentially, a profile is a collection of states that does things on your computer on a regular schedule. So as often as every minute, you can have one or many states control functions or control settings on your computer. And so a very common use case for using profiles and states is to provision a new computer. And essentially, with a 20-second install of our Bacon agent, after that, depending on what group it's in, or if you apply a profile to it, or have it already applied to a group, it will essentially go into action, installing many, many apps, changing settings, changing the background, anything you can think of that you can control on a Windows, Mac, or Linux computer, you can essentially do using this feature. We have clients that are saving hundreds and hundreds of hours a month by automating things in here. So it's really powerful and it's a really intelligent feature. In other words, if you were to do something simple like install Firefox, and you already had Firefox of the version that you wanted to install, it actually has the intelligence to look, see that you already have that version of Firefox and do nothing. So it doesn't waste any CPU cycles or take any time or any of those kinds of things. If you have the wrong version or no version of Firefox, it's going to see that and it's going to take the proper action and upgrade it. And it's going to report back on all of that, including automatically monitoring that all of your profiles are in compliance. So profiles is really powerful. We make like 4,000 plus profile, or I should say state templates available to you, and we'll help you write these if there's ones that are really unique to you. But right out of the box, you can get a tremendous amount of value. You can automatically build your machines. You can keep them in the state you want, and you can easily alter the states in real time. So if a new version of Chrome comes out, you can simply swap that into your repository and refer to it from your profile, and it will upgrade all of the Chrome installs across all of your machines. Something like that would be a very easy and common use case for it. So with that said, we're not going to go too deep into it today. I do urge you to set up a one-on-one with us. We can show you exactly how it works. We do offer demos, POCs, and all of those sorts of things. But I did want to make sure we covered a couple of our new features that we've just launched in 3.1 here. So Andrew, if you wouldn't mind hitting the admin page. And essentially, one of the things people asked us for over a while was, hey, I know I could install this using group policy or some other ways, but can you make it easier for us to get agents installed? And so we created something called the network scanner. It is something that runs on a frequency clock. So you could say once a day or once an hour or once every 5 seconds, doesn't really matter. I guess 1 hour is the shortest. So I apologize, I said seconds, doesn't do that. But let's say once an hour, you want to scan certain sets of networks that the Bacon environment has access to, and it will go out. You can even exclude IPs, and it will go out and find all of the machines, and it's really intelligent about, it will use hidden encrypted credentials that you give it, and it will go out and find all those machines, see if the appropriate ports are open, like WMI on Windows, SSH on Mac and Linux, and it will give you a bunch of feedback on whether or not they're there. And if they are there, you'll have the ability to install automatically this agent. And so that just makes getting it deployed and consistently deployed much, much easier for certain environments. So just know that we have that. It's a great new feature. And then we've also added integrations, and we're going to be adding a lot more of these, but this is the beginning. And our integrations allow us to integrate with ticketing systems like Jira and Autotask currently, more to come, and an inventory system that a lot of people use called IT Glue. But we'll also be adding the Atlassian CMDB. So if you use Jira and Confluence and so forth, you'll be able to have all that inventory in there. And there'll be many more of those coming. One thing I did want to note, though, is we do have an open API, and a lot of people, particularly in larger organizations, are just using our API on their own and creating their own integrations. We've made that very, very easy, and you can set that up and interact with Bacon in a lot of different ways. So these are some exciting things we've got added to Bacon now, and then we've got a lot more coming up, don't we, Andrew, with MDM coming out this summer. So what does that mean for everybody out there? Well, we will have the ability to talk to the Apple MDM API in Mac OS. That'll be out in early August, and then a month after that, we'll have full iOS capabilities as well. So very, very exciting time in Bacon. We're just adding more features and really getting all the things that people wanted. And again, I just want to be clear to everybody too that Bacon doesn't add modules and sort of hidden costs. Our existing customers get all of these features at no additional cost, and all of our new customers, potential customers, will have the option of getting all of these features at no additional cost. That is the promise of writing on a modern platform that's easy to update and improve upon. And we really want to make sure that everybody is continuing to get an increasingly valuable tool. So here's some other things we've added or will be adding. Third-party patching, that means essentially being able to reach out into the repositories of common apps like a Chrome or a Firefox and automatically updating machines on a group-based basis if you want to. Rocky Linux support, since CentOS is sort of going away and Rocky in many cases is replacing it. We wanted to add that flavor. And then also something called CVE tagging, which is essentially the ability to see any threats that are notated by particular known CVEs on your machines and related to software and patching vulnerabilities and so forth. So all of that will be coming together, as well as improved grouping in folders and an amazing customizable endpoint data where you can essentially gather information we never even thought of before from machines, put them in searchable columns just like the one you saw on our endpoints page, and really, really customize the tool to your needs even more. So that's what's coming in Bacon. Thanks for watching and seeing what we've added recently on the webinar today. And with that, Caitlin, are there any last things you'd like to comment on before we run?
Yeah, I want to thank you all for your time today. Our Bacon Unlimited team will be reaching out to all of you to set up personalized demos, so be on the lookout via phone and email. Also, don't forget to fill out our post-event survey so we can include a t-shirt along with your Bacon swag. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.